Hi there, it's Dermot again, and I'm going to continue with a series of lectures I'm doing for people in recovery primarily, just different character defects and also cognitive distortions that people might experience in early recovery that, they kind of need to become aware of and know how to work through them. So like this one here, we're going to just look at what low self-esteem and just what low self-esteem is, how it affects people and what they can do about it. So, what is self-esteem? As I say, we tend to go through life, as I say, evaluating ourselves and others according to a scale of worth. So, do we see ourselves high up there on a pedestal or do we see ourselves down below? And the idea of self-esteem is the amount of value you give yourself. How much self-worth do you have? How much do you feel in yourself? Do you feel valued or not? Do you value yourself or not? And again, as I say, these can vary from person to person. It just all depends on the individual, depends on a lot of different factors. It could be your upbringing, how you see yourself. There's a whole array of different reasons why people would have different self-esteem. So as it says, whilst we might rate ourselves as being of little value, if you have low self-esteem, others might rate us as being much higher. In that sense, we see ourselves in a certain light or in a certain perspective, but others might see us in a different light, a different perspective. And it's time that we start to kind of listen to them and what they're saying, on board, because it's not that they're trying to inflate our egos, they're just trying to tell us how they see us. So if we get into the habit, as I say, of thinking negatively about ourselves all the time, then that's how low self-esteem just compounds itself. It's a core belief, and you just believe more and more and more that you are not worth it or you're worthless, and you place little value on yourself, and that's just the result that kind of happens. Right, low self-esteem can be the result of negative life experiences. So whatever that may be, if you're young, when you're your most vulnerable, for the first, I suppose, 7 years of your life or any of our lives, we take on everything kind of literally. So what we hear, we believe. If someone said you were stupid, many's a time you'd believe you were stupid. You could be a rocket scientist but still believe you were stupid. Um, Again, a lot of more of these experiences could be a lot of criticism that you might get from family, teachers, friends, whoever. It could be judged negatively. You could be bullied at school. In adulthood, being bullied in the workplace, being in abusive relationships, living stressful life or having stressful life events, traumas, different things that can happen can also cause kind of low self-esteem. So it is very common. It's more common than not. And especially people who are coming out of addiction will suffer from low self-esteem because they'll see themselves in a very low value because of the addiction and the shame and the guilt that they have felt because of their. So low self-esteem is one of the biggest consequences of addiction, as I said, and one of the biggest challenges in recovery because it's very hard to change your own outlook about yourself when you see yourself in very much in negative light. Low self-esteem can stay low because our own self-critical thoughts, or that little voice, which can be triggered by other criticisms or perceived criticism. So, even if there is no criticism, we believe there is going to be a criticism coming down the road. We become very paranoid in that sense, or overthinking or mind reading. Right, so look at this now. So you have the actual or perceived, um, and that is a negative judgment from others, and then that repeated self-thoughts or critical thoughts come from that, then the low self-esteem. So you see it's a cycle, it goes round and round and round. So, it reinforces itself, or how we reinforce it ourselves. So how does low self-esteem affect us? Emotionally, it affects us. Depression, feeling hurt, feeling angry, frustrated, anxious, and also ashamed, and then feeling guilty. And guilt is a big. The thoughts that we think, we negative self-critical. I'm always thinking I'm stupid, I'm worthless, it's my fault, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough. That's what goes round and round in your head, incompetencies. And yet, helpful thinking habits, you can get that at www.getselfhelp.co.uk. And these are what we call cognitive distortions, and they include like the likes of mental filter, mind reading, self-blame, internal critic, compare and despair, shoulds and musts, black and white thinking. Now, if you want to read more into that, you can look up that website. I do have a talk on cognitive distortions and character defects coming up later on. Behaviors, trying to please others or being a people pleaser, thinking that if you do some good for somebody else, they won't throw that back in your face, or they'll leave you alone, or they'll think you're doing well, so they won't challenge you. Getting defensive when you believe you're being criticized, so becoming oversensitive or hypersensitive, and reactive to whatever we perceive to be an attack. Underachieve or work harder to compensate and cover up our incompetence. So, you either underachieve, you give up and say, well, there's no point in me doing it because I'm not good enough, or overachieve in a sense, perfectionism, and try and do it 110 or 120% to try and get it as good, but then never believing in yourself that you can achieve that level. And not that you give up, but you stress yourself out and you end up putting in too much work when it wasn't that necessary. Being shy and passive around others, feeling awkward in company, awkward in a crowd, feel that you don't know who you can talk to or who you can relate to, drifting from one pocket of people to another pocket of people, trying to get in on the conversation but not really feeling part of it. Avoiding situations and people, so because of that shy and passivity, avoid those kind of situations as best as you can because they do feel awkward. Neglect and abuse of ourselves, and self-neglect, definitely. It's self-neglect in the sense of not looking after yourself, not looking after your own self-care, not feeling that you're worth be looking after, so maybe not exercising or going to the gym, and if in recovery, not going to meetings, and abuse, maybe not eating right, not beating yourself up in the sense of emotionally and mentally beating yourself up all the time. So an example, of how this can keep our low self-esteem low, just look at one of those wee charts again. So example, if you think you're stupid and no good, the first thing you think is, well, I'm not going to bother doing something because I'm going to mess up again. So you avoid doing it because you think others will agree with you, and that confirms a self-belief. Or if you do it, you make a balls up because it's like a self-defeating prophecy, and then it just reinforces that you're stupid again. So you see how that works. So making changes, doing things differently. You need to do things differently. So communicate with others assertively, and you can get on that same website again. There's other lectures on assertiveness. I'll be covering that too later on. Set achievable and realistic goals, and when you achieve them, pat yourself on the back. Treat yourself and allow others to congratulate you. So don't just say, oh well, I did it because, or anybody could do it. When you do something, you feel good about it, and you feel good that you've achieved it. Do congratulate yourself. It's not being big-headed or being egotistical. Just congratulate yourself because it's something you came out of your comfort zone probably to do that. Accepting compliments. When you hear thank you or someone pays you a compliment, someone says to you, well, that's a lovely pair of trousers you got there. Don't be playing them down. Say, oh, I got them for €5 in a sale. Just say thank you and smile. That's all you need to do. It's very important because when your self-esteem is low, you're trying to justify everything, and you feel ashamed and embarrassed to stand out or to splash out in yourself or look after yourself. You just feel small. So that is an awkward place to be in. Do more things you enjoy, and that's very, very important. It's not selfish to do things you enjoy. You only have one life, for Christ's sakes. You might as well enjoy it while you can. So don't be thinking, oh, if I do something, to put somebody else out. That's not the case. If it's something you enjoy doing, do it. Set achievable and realistic goals, and then when you achieve them again, congratulate yourself and treat yourself, and allow others to congratulate you too if they notice them. Doesn't mean you have to go around bragging about them, but just if they notice, if they say, well done, that's great. And when I say achievable goals, things that you can achieve, don't be, raising the bar far too high for yourself. It's unachievable, and part of you knows it's unachievable, and you'll never actually get there. Don't be saying, well, this time next year I'll be a millionaire. because that now might not be the case. It's a huge goal to reach. You know, set goals that you can break down into smaller goals and make them, more manageable, more achievable. Accepting compliments, again, as I say, it's about saying thank you, smile, do more things that you enjoy. So can I cover it? Stand and walk tall confidently. My mother always used to say to me, walk tall, walk straight, and look them in the eye. Because being a tall person and having very low self-confidence all my life, I became a slouch. In a sense, I was always staring at the ground. I found it very hard to make eye contact with people. So it's important to make eye contact with people because there's a lot of communication in the eyes, maybe more so in the words. There's a lot of communication in the face. And when you walk and talk confidently, you feel better in yourself. But if you've been doing it all your life, it does take a lot of hard work to get used to walking and tall and putting your shoulders back, and standing tall. Because if you're tall, you're meant to be tall, and that's just it. So changing your image, your hair, clothes, makeup. Well, I don't wear any makeup, but changing your image. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a scruffy person because you love stuff? Do yourself up. Go get a haircut, a new wardrobe if you can. Change things about yourself, make yourself feel better because you will feel better in those senses. Taking up a new hobby or interest, and that's very important as well. If you've got nothing to look forward to or nothing to work towards, life can be very dull. So it's important to find something that gives you a bit of passion. Find a passion within you. It's not that will make you passionate, but what gives you passion? How do you feel passion? So it could be anything that you've done in the past, maybe, or something you always wanted to do but never ever gave yourself permission to do it. So just try that. Learn a new skill, and that's very important, whatever that may be. You can learn stuff online, you can enroll in a class or in a thing, do whatever you feel, and it's good to learn new things. We're always learning, we're learning till the day we die. Our minds are designed to learn. So learning something is just normal. It's not something out there, it's not something that you have to really kind of put yourself out to learn. You're constantly learning anyway. So reward yourself for the achievements, like as I've said before, successes, now however small. That's important. Don't be waiting until you've got your degree before you pat yourself on the back. But every single little thing you do on the way, on the journey, pat yourself on the back. And it's very important that because it makes each little achievable goal more achievable and more rewarding on the journey. As you say, it's the journey that counts. It's not the destination. And show appreciation and others will appreciate you back. And that's very true. That's like anything in life. We all are waiting for other people to change first before we change. We've got to ask about face. We've got to put the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart. Sorry. We have to change first before other people will change. So don't be sitting around waiting for people to say thank you to you and say, well, they never said thank you to me, so why should I say thank you to them? You say it first. Show appreciation, thank you, smile, wave, say hello. And people will react positively. If you smile at someone and wave, even if you don't know them, they will probably wave back at you and smile. If they don't, they have their own issues, and that's okay. If you're driving in traffic and you let somebody in the car, you'll feel good in yourself for doing that, and you've done them a favor, and they will go ahead maybe and do that for somebody else. And it's just funny how that just has a knock-on effect or a pay-it-forward effect. As I said, do things for others, help someone out because it makes you feel better. And if you do something well, let others notice it. And when they notice your work, their opinion of you will be raised, which in turn will raise your own self-esteem. So it's not, as I say, go out there and say, "Oh, look what I did." People will notice the changes in you. If you make changes, they will notice and they will comment on it. And they will compliment you for it, and that's okay. And take the compliment. Right, thinking differently. So just the stop, pause, and take a breath. Again, that's on that website there. Asking yourself, what am I reacting to? What have I been thinking about? If if your head's going around in circles. Okay. Is this fact or opinion? So how do you know if it's real or if it's just going on in your head? Is that internal critic operating again? Am I looking at things through gloomy specs, the mental filter again? What am I saying? What's really happening? Wood from the trees. And thinking positively. What have I learned over time to think, feel, and behave in a negative manner? So, look at that in that sense. What have I learned over time? To think and feel and behave in a negative manner. So, what can I see on a positive light rather than a negative light? And again, that's learned behavior. So, it's what you've learned from your life. So, challenging your negative thoughts and replace them with positive ones, and you will be amazed at how quickly you'll begin to feel better. So, every time you get a negative thought, a negative feeling, look at it for what it is, turn it around, and see how you feel then. Weighing up the pros and cons ways. Is it true or is it not true? And always take responsibility for yourself and never put blame on anyone else. Remember, they are also on their own journey. And you can never know what they're thinking. So, don't be thinking, oh, he's thinking that, she's thinking that because of this and that. You don't know. No one can mind read. And then every day, just say to yourself, I'm worth it. And you are. We all are. All right. Thanks for watching. And I'll have another one on the way after this. Okay. Thanks. Bye.